graders, how are y'all? Hopefully you're doing great. Hopefully this video gets to y'all quick. I'm recording it now and it should be on YouTube. Well, now if you're watching it, dumb Miss Bragg. Okay, I'm losing my mind, but let's just go and jump into math because I'm good at that. So, looking at your notes, you should have this sheet in front of you. Also make a note that it says to put it in page 37 in your math notebook. Please do that right now, okay? You've got to get in that process of gluing things down, okay? So please glue that down, know where it is, so we're good to go. All right, so let's go ahead and just jump on into it. The notes up here look a little different, but it's the same as your sheet follows, so you should be good to go. All right, so looking at this, an equation is a math sentence that states two quantities are equal. So it's a math sentence that's going to state those two quantities are equal. Whatever those two quantities to be, they should make it to be equal, okay? And it will have an equal sign. So an equation is a math sentence that states two sides are equal and that it will always have an equal sign, okay? If it doesn't have an equal sign, then it's not an equation, okay? Moving on, let's look at this equation. We have 3x minus 4 equals 7. This is a little complex. You will not see these straight away, but we will work our way up to it. But first, I do want us to just look at this, all right? So we're looking at our equation, and the equation says 3x minus 4 equals 7. So it's saying whatever is on the left, so this is our left side, so that's the left side of the equation, which is 3x minus 4, is equal to what's on the right. And this is our right, which is 7. So that's all that part is saying. It just wants you to really get in your brain that the left side equals the right side. Okay, so now when you talk about that parts of an equation, and this has to do with vocabulary terms, we will see these more often, and we'll continue that vocabulary foldable that you were supposed to do yesterday and keep adding terms like this onto it. But let's start with the ones that are up here. So variable, it's a letter that represents a number that we do not know, okay? So the variables are unknown, okay? And we associate that with letters of the alphabet, so it can be anywhere from A to Z, and it's unknown, okay? We don't know that value unless it tells us the value. Then we are substituting like we did yesterday, and we're able to figure it out. All right, and then every variable has a coefficient. So every variable has a coefficient. And we'll talk more about a coefficient because that's the next one. So a coefficient is the number attached to the variable, okay? So a lot of times y'all have seen like 2a. Well, 2 is that coefficient, okay? Because 2 is attached to that variable and it's always in front, okay? And then the coefficient can be positive or negative. Okay, so every variable has that coefficient, and then the coefficients are attached, so it's always that number before the variable, and it can be either positive or negative. All right, and then our last one is a constant, and our constant is a number with no variable attached. So if there's no variable attached and it's just a normal number in our equation or our expression, then it's noted that it's a constant, okay? So that's that term for constant. I know I'm going fast, but you have that option to pause, rewind, and slow down if you need to. You can also email me if you need more clarification of these terms. But for today, I just want to hit it briefly, and then we'll talk more about it in class on Thursday. All right, so now let's look at our term. Term is any of the following, okay? So it's a single number. It's a single variable. The product of a number, that coefficient in the variable, okay? Because, and this might be something you want to write. All right, so that might be something you want to write, that a number and a letter side by side always means to multiply. Okay, that's never going to change. If the number and the variable are attached, then it is going to be. Something else to make a note on is that terms are separated by addition and subtraction, okay? So anytime you have an addition or subtraction sign in an equation or expression, that separates the terms, okay? And we're gonna do examples together, so if this doesn't make sense right now, that's okay. We're gonna get to it, I promise. So speaking of examples, let's look at this one. All right, so we have this really long, not fun, line of numbers. So we have 2k plus 15 minus n minus 3 plus n minus 7p. That's a lot. But we're not doing any math with it, okay? We're really not. All we want to do is they want us to list the terms out, okay? So if we go back and you have your notes in front of you, you don't have to go back on the page, but its term is a single number. It can be a single variable. It can be the product of a number and a variable, which is a letter and number side by side, and they're separated by addition and subtraction signs. So 2K, that is a term, okay? And it is separated by an addition sign. All right, 15, that is a term. All right, so M is a term because it's separated by a subtraction sign. 3 is a term. N is a term, and 7P is a term. So notice how none of these are positive and negatives. They're just going to be normal numbers, okay? You just drop them down if they're separated by an addition and subtraction sign. All right, let's look at our variables. So remember, our variables are a letter that's unknown, okay? Do we have any letters in this? Hopefully, yes, you know the letters. So we have a K, we have an M, we have an N, and we have a P. So that's what we're going to list here. K, M, N, and P. So like I said, no math yet. We're just labeling what we got. All right, and remember, coefficient is the number that's attached to that variable, okay? So do we have any numbers attached to variables? Yeah, we have a 2. What else do we have? Does that M have a coefficient? Yes, okay? So remember, one of the things was a variable always has a coefficient, okay? This one, it has a minus M. If there is not a coefficient listed, we assume it's 1. So for this one, it would be a -1 because that negative would be attached to it. So -1, and then the N has a 1, and then the P has a -7. So those are our coefficients, and now it wants us to label our constants. Now remember, our constants are single numbers that are just there and it's not attached to anything, okay? So a single number would be 15 and a single number would be -3. All right, so like I said, you're just labeling, you're using those vocabulary terms to get that process going. So let's look at the next one. And of course, we're going to do this together. So we have this really long line of words. So first we want our terms. Terms are separated by addition and subtraction signs. So we have 8. We have 4C. We have 7. We have C. We have 12C. And we have 2. So those are our terms. All right, the next one, we want our variables. Variables are our letters. Well, the only letter we have in this case are C's. So the variable is just a C. And then coefficients, remember coefficients are attached to those variables. So which ones are attached? We have a -4. All right, C, what's that coefficient? Okay, you have a little note on it that says, what does this coefficient variable have of? Well, we just did one in the previous example. Remember, we know it's a 1 because if it's not stated, we assume it's a 1. And it also has that negative sign, so it'd be a -1. And then a -12. So those are our coefficients. And now we need constants. Constants are numbers that aren't attached. They don't have any baggage. They don't have anyone with them. So our constants is a -8, a +7, and a -2. Okay? So hopefully you're feeling better with those vocabulary terms. Go ahead and flip to the back of the page and we're going to move on. Expression is a group of terms. It contains numbers, operations, and variables, okay? So an expression has all that stuff. However, it does not contain an equal sign. Expressions do not have an equal sign. What we were working with before on this page, these are expressions because there's not an equal sign, okay? But there's still letters, there's still variables, there's still numbers, and there's still operations. So it makes it that expression. All right, so now we're gonna wanna label the parts of the expression. So this 8, okay? And it gives you a word bank, but hopefully you don't need it. It's a number attached to a variable, so it's a coefficient, and I'm gonna abbreviate it. This Y is our letter, so it has to be a variable. And then this is attached to that 7, and that is a constant. All right, so now the bottom part wants us to know how many terms are present, okay? So we count those terms. Remember, they're separated by addition and subtraction signs. So we have 1, we have 2, we have 3. So we have 3 terms present. And then it wants us to list them. So what are those 3 terms? We have 8y, -7, and 2y. Okay, so we're just using those vocabulary still, and we're still working with those words. All right, so let's look at this one. We're doing the same process, so we have this long expression, and it's wanting us to label those parts. So the first one, it's that letter circled, so remember that is a variable. All right, 4. 4 is a number, nothing's attached to it, so it is a constant. It doesn't have anything with it. And then this -7, it is attached to a variable, it is in the front, so therefore it is a coefficient. And I'm spelling that one short. All right, and it goes back to those same questions. How many terms are they? Terms, they're separated by addition and subtraction signs. So we have 1, we have 2, we have 3, 4, and 5. So we have 5 terms, and then it wants us to list them. So we numbered them, but our terms would be n, 4, 2, -7n, and 6. So those are our terms. Moving on. I hope y'all are feeling good. Let's go ahead and look at the next one. All right, so we're doing the same process again. Let's look at this real quick. I'll do 3 with you, and then 4, 5, and 6 will be on your own, and I will check it in class on Thursday. So looking at this one, what are our terms? Remember, our terms are separated by addition and subtraction signs. So we have 4a, we have 7b, we have 5, and we have c. All right, what are our variables? Remember, variables are our letters. So what letters do we have up here? Well, we have an A, we have a B, and we have a C. So those are our variables, A, B, and C. All right, our coefficients. Remember, that is the number attached to the variable. If there's a variable without a coefficient, we assume it's 1. So we have a -4, we have a -7, and this C does not have anything attached to it, so we assume it is a 1. All right, and then what are our constants? Remember, constants are those numbers that doesn't have anything attached. In our case, this would be the 5. All right, so I know that's a lot of vocabulary words, a lot of memorizing what places we put in things. Hopefully you're good. You didn't have to really do any math work. We didn't have to add or subtract anything. We just want to work with those vocabulary terms. So if you have any questions, call me on the team app. You can email me, remind me, get back to me. Y'all got this. Good luck.